Hi, everybody. We're back again. Artur and I are with another great guest today. We're going to talk immigration. A lot of times we talk about mentorship, but we've got Irfhan Rawji, who is the founder and CEO of a really interesting company based in Calgary, Canada, called Mob Squad. And so I'm sure you'll talk a little bit about it, but welcome, Irfhan. We're really glad to have you today.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So just to get right into it, I think what I'm really curious about is last week, the president had this tweet. I mean, it feels like ages ago already, but he had this tweet, and then a couple of days later, there was an executive order. There's a lot of articles written about that. Your company is based in Canada. What approach is Canada taking compared to what we're seeing in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is definitely a different approach. If you were to look at what we do, we work with nearshore teams of software engineers that are foreign nationals that we bring to Canada, and we pair with U.S. companies, usually tech scale-ups. And if you were to look at the approach of the Canadian government to immigration versus the U.S. government to immigration right now, with respect to technology workers, they're pretty different. So the first thing is that our government continues to be open to immigration, to having technology workers that are foreign nationals come to the country because they believe, as a policy measure, that it is critical to the future economic growth of the country. And so the angst and the anxiety that we're seeing with US based foreign nationals right now, we're not seeing in Canada at all. In fact, we're continuing to work to bring foreign nationals into Canada, even during COVID, because we view these people as being critical to rebuilding our economy.
So there's not the same sort of politics or even, right or wrong. I think a lot of what drove that executive order in the U.S. was this sense of like the government's got to do something to protect U.S. workers. There's 30 million people that now are out of work in the past 6 weeks, and so there's an aspect that I think is understandable. It's like let's try to get those people sort of a advantage in terms of getting a job. I mean, you might agree or disagree with that, but it's curious. I mean, is there not sort of that same? Are Canadians losing jobs the same way that Americans are?
Yeah, I mean, Canadians are absolutely losing jobs at the same percentage rate, if not even higher, than you see in the United States right now. I think the Paycheck Protection Program in the U.S. is probably doing a pretty good job of keeping some people employed. That we're in Canada, we don't have that similar program. We have other programs, but I would be surprised if we're not seeing the same level of job destruction, at least on a temporary basis, that we're seeing in the U.S. right now. I think more. But fundamentally, the Canadian attitude towards skilled immigration has been different for the last 3 or 4 decades. If you looked at last year, we issued almost 350,000 permanent residency cards in Canada. That's the U.S. equivalent would be the green card. So about 1% of our total population. At the same time, the U.S. issued 1 million green cards, and so we're a tenth of the size, but only do a third of the green card equivalents. And so there's a different attitude towards how much immigration we want as a country. And recently, I want to say a few weeks ago, there was a poll done, and it showed that over 80% of Canadians believe that knowledge worker migration, talent that comes to the country, is positive for the economy and economic growth. I think that if you were to do that poll in the US, you might get a different outcome than over 80% of people believing this is a positive thing. And when the constituency base believes a certain thing, it drives politicians to do certain things because they want to make sure that they're responding to their constituents' beliefs and concerns. If you were to look across the Canadian political spectrum, whether you look at our more right-leaning party, which would be more like the Republican Party, which we call the Conservatives, or our more sort of center-left party, like the Democrats in the U.S., we call the Liberals, both parties believe in keeping the certain percentage that we have, that 1% of our population per year, and it's been growing for the last 3 decades, irrespective of political party in power. And so this isn't a political hot-button issue in Canada to the same extent that we see in the U.S. In fact, the debate until a few weeks ago, and I don't know if it's going to change now given what's going on with the economy, but the debate in Canada was how much more immigration should we have? It wasn't if we should or shouldn't, and it wasn't even keeping it constant. It was Should it be 1%? Should it be 1.25%? Should it be 2%? That's a very different debate than what we're seeing in the U.S. And I think the president's reaction to that.
Mm-hmm. And so we were talking before this also about this. There was an article that came out, I think yesterday, about I think it's something like 200 or 250,000 people in the U.S. on H-1B visas who, if basically, I mean, the short version is if they lose their job during this, they've got 60 days and then they're probably going to have to leave the country. And many of them have lived in the US for several years. It's not like they just got here. Would Canada want those people to consider moving up there? Is there an opportunity?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is what we do at Mob Squad. We take people that are visa challenged in the US and we move them to Canada and pair them back with their same employer. So we nearshore them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for our clients, they don't want to work with people, you know, halfway around the world in India or in Russia or in China, not just because of time zone issues and business culture, but it's for intellectual property control, which we can assert in Canada like you can in the US. You know, the challenge for these H-1B workers and the challenge for their companies, I really empathize with the CEOs, the CTOs, the CHROs of these companies. Because when you have a foreign national on an H-1B, you have a difficult decision to make. If you lay them off or furlough them and they're without income for 60 days, they are forced to leave the country. Mm-hmm. And so these are people that you made a commitment to bring to the United States, maybe to realize their American dream, and you're now taking that away from them. That's pretty tough. The alternative is to keep them on payroll, but you know, I'm also a partner in a venture capital firm, and I would tell you we're telling all of our investee companies to be really thoughtful about their cost structure and their runways right now, and to be able to see if there's some flexibility on cost right now. And so you're seeing a lot of these companies reduce pay by 10, 20, 30%, or change work hours, or do things to try to extend the runway. With an H-1B foreign national, you can't change their compensation. So now as the executive or the head of HR or the CEO, you're forced with a very difficult decision. Do you expose your company to greater risk and shorter runway and not do what you've been asked to do by your board? Mm-hmm. Or do you have to lay these people off or change their compensation or do things that require them to leave the country? And so we think at Mob Squad we have a solution because you can keep them employed in North America. We'll make them Canadian citizens within 4 years. That's our program. We're partnered with the Canadian government. They're one of the funding partners of the company. And because Canada is a slightly lower cost regime than the US, our typical client saves between 10 to 20% on a fully loaded annual basis if they work with us. So you have the opportunity to keep your worker, keep your productivity, keep their American dream alive, North American dream in this case, by coming to Canada. And you can also achieve the objective you've been given by your board, which is to try to reduce your burn.
So let me just replay that because I'm not sure that I totally understood it, but myself and I'm sure other immigration attorneys get calls from a client who says, we've got, you know, we're making cuts. Can we furlough H-1Bs or what's the impact if we furlough them? And generally my response, and probably the response of most immigration lawyers, is to say just very, you know, literally, well, according to the law, if you furlough them, you must withdraw the H-1B. What you're saying is, perhaps I should be offering them another alternative. I should be saying, well, is it that you need to actually cut your number of people, or are you just looking to cut costs? And if you're just looking to cut costs, but you still have the job opportunity, why don't you consider this, you know, this nearshoring option? Is that what it is?
That's exactly right. And I mean, it doesn't work across the board. You know, typically for us to get work permits issued, and we get them issued in under 4 weeks, so they're pretty fast. We can move these people into Canada pretty quickly. And from what we've been told, the borders remain open to us doing this, and we have open files that we're working on with the government right now. Typically, this works with your higher-end workers. So think of like the top 25% of technology workers, like software engineers, data scientists, people that are making, you know, 120,000 or more. It's those types of skills that the Canadian government is working with us to issue these fast permits for. If it's a lower end wage and a lower end skill, think of like potentially like quality assurance, we can't make that work. And it's because the government's looking to us to really create, you know, 6-figure jobs. which is part of the economic development plan for the country.
And for somebody who let's say they don't fit into that category and the company has laid them off, and I've told them to consider maybe applying for a tourist visa just to buy them some time while they look for a job. But maybe they're just tired of it. Maybe they're just like, I just can't do this anymore. It's too much uncertainty. Is there something, is the Canadian government offering them something? Could they apply for PR?
Yeah, PR is still open. So, it takes 12 to 14 months to get a PR card typically. Express entry for knowledge workers is, 6 to 8 months. We work on that for our staff. So that opportunity is certainly open. We're finding that a lot of software engineers are calling us because the anxiety right now, even if they feel like they still have their job today, they don't know, given what's going on, if they're going to have their job next week. They don't know if they're going to be in the country 2 months from now. And the anxiety of also just never knowing if you're going to get a green card, right? If you're an Indian national or a Chinese national, according to the Washington Post, it can take up to 50 years to get a green card, given the lineup is so long. Whereas if you work with Mob Squad in Canada, we get you Canadian citizenship in under 4 years. And so think of like one more H-1B cycle.
And wait, sorry to interrupt, but just because a lot of people don't necessarily understand that distinction. So 4 years to become a Canadian citizen, but before that, you would be a permanent resident. You said maybe even in 6 to 8 months if you're...
It's usually 6 to 8 months for a permanent residency card.
Wow.
And so that's the Canadian equivalent of a green card. We sponsor our employees into that. We fill out the paperwork and help get them that status. Once you have a PR card for 3 years, you have to be on the ground in Canada for 3 years, you can apply for citizenship. So that's about 3.5 years.
Wow.
It takes a bit of time to get through the system. So we tell people, sort of budget 4 years. But if your choice is an H-1B cycle, then maybe a renewal, maybe you lose your job, maybe you get kicked out of the country, and maybe this never happens for you. Or a guaranteed citizenship in under 4 years in Canada, that's pretty attractive, right? And the challenge for companies right now, again, being an investor, so I see this in our companies, is the productivity of staff when they're worried about their status, their family security, it goes down. Like people are spending their time anxious, not coding, and that's a problem. It's a problem for the individual, it's a problem for the company. And again, that poor executive team that has to make this impossible decision of, do I destroy this dream for this individual and the commitment I made to them ethically and morally, or do I reduce the burn rate, or sorry, do I reduce the runway for my company and potentially expose all these other people's jobs to uncertainty? I mean, it's really an impossible choice.
And Irfhan, I have a question. I find it really interesting the solution your company came up with, because you identified this huge policy in the United States and came up with the policy directive to actually what we see nowadays, and then you address this issue with a solution that involves North America and Canada. And I noticed that you work more with technology, but in a more broader way. Do you do in your company also, do you address like other industries, or do you see a trend in Canada for other industries other than technology?
We don't do industries outside of technology right now, and it's for two reasons. One, we just see so much opportunity there that we want to be specialists. Like we set up our offices and our systems to work for software engineers to do remote work. And so we're really good at that, and there's a value to our clients of us being really good at one thing. The second is the Canadian government has leaned these policies to get these very quickly issued work permits towards technology workers and other technical jobs. And so the system works because that's where the policy is focused. And we think that if we focus as well on our service offering, people are more likely to have a good experience with us. And so far, it's worked for both our engineers and our clients. Our client net promoter score right now is 100. Every client has given us a 10 out of 10, and one has given us a 9 out of 10. Our engineers are extremely happy. In our first year, we launched the business in 2018. We were ranked, for a small company, the 9th best place to work in Canada.
Wow.
We just got our ranking for our 2019 year. We went to number 3. And it's because we specialize in making sure that we know how to take care of software engineers. So there's certain things that we wouldn't do in other industries. but it's kind of do one thing really, really well, and that's really what we focused on.
So that's really interesting, Irfan, that the focus really is on tech workers. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about why that might be?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple reasons. The first is I do think that the government's thinking about where the economy is going. And if you think about the sectors of the economy, probably one of the fastest growing sectors is the innovation economy. And so if you're trying to position your country to grow and to win in the future, you should pick, the sectors that are growing the fastest and potentially have the most economic contribution from a GDP perspective. And GDP is just two things, right? It's just capital plus labor, fundamentally. And capital will go wherever there's a good opportunity for an investment. So you can't really, as a country, have a strategic advantage in capital, I don't think. To the same extent you can with labor, because labor is sticky. And so if you can get all the smartest people in the world to make roots in your country, and they all happen to be skilled in the area that's growing the fastest, that makes sense from an economic development perspective over a multi-decade period. So I think that's the number one reason. The number two reason is these are really high-paid jobs. These are all six-figure jobs. And, when you give a 23-year-old $140,000 a year, you know what they do with it? They spend it. Buy all sorts of things that maybe they even shouldn't buy. But, they really reinvest that. You get a multiplier in the economy, and you create other jobs, not just tech jobs because of it. And so I think that there's, a short-term win in that money getting circulated and a long-term positioning that allows the government from a policy perspective to position the country longer term to succeed.
Interesting. Can you maybe comment on just one more topic if you have time? How are you seeing the impact on your VC company, like in terms of this policy difference between the US and Canada? Like, is there potential for more we work a lot with a lot of startup companies on not just H-1Bs, but also O-1s. Are you seeing any of those people coming to Canada? Like not in a traditional employment role, but as a founder?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is really, we're seeing much more interest on the H-1B side. I don't think we have anybody that has an O visa that's come to us. Mm-hmm. I do think that there are some companies that are thinking, how do I position my company to succeed? And again, it's capital plus labor. And if you think about it, if you're in San Francisco, I was talking to a founder the other day and they said, I'm going to set up an office in Denver. And I said, well, why are you setting up an office in Denver? And they said, well, there's just such a war for talent in San Francisco that if I go to Denver, I get access to the Denver market. I said, if you work with us at Mob Squad and you set up a virtual subsidiary, because we make it easy for you to start working with us in Canada, you get access to the whole world. Because we can get anybody into the country in 4 weeks from anywhere. You're not limited by this H-1B cycle that takes a year and a lottery and all this stuff. It's the biggest pool of talent available. The second thing is not only do you have access to them, we'll give you a better value proposition, because your value proposition right now is to work with you. You're a great company that's growing fast with serial entrepreneurs on leading edge technology backed by the best VCs in the world. That's a pretty good value prop for a software engineer, I'll be honest. But we say all of those things, plus we say, and we guarantee you Canadian citizenship in under 4 years. And so we have the biggest pool to fish in with the best employee value proposition. And some founders are saying, that's a competitive advantage for me to grow my company. And so we're seeing some people start their companies in Canada versus in the US now because of it. Not a lot, but I think over time you're going to see that trend continue. It's also possible that the US government says, actually, what we should do is not have 85,000 people on this H-1B lottery. We should have 500,000 people. And we shouldn't run a lottery. We should let it be open if you have a certain number of skills and qualify. In that case, I think that trend will stop.
Yeah, interesting. Well, this has been really fascinating. I don't know, Artur, do you have anything else that you wanted to ask Irfan?
No, it was great. It's just nice to, I think the whole experience of Mobscott, your company, Irfan, is just, it's really amazing what you're doing. And it's been a great pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for your interest, Artur. It's great to meet you and Ron. It's always a pleasure to make time for you, anytime.
Yeah, I mean, just one last thing I'll say, and then Irfan, you get the last word, but you know, to my fellow immigration lawyers out there, I just really encourage you. You don't necessarily have to go to Irfhan or Mob Squad, but really, when your clients come to you, we need to help them solve their problem, which is having the right talent. It's not about this transaction of getting a visa. And so, you know, I'm just really glad for your entrepreneurial spirit, your creativity in creating this company, because I think it's helping address a real issue that, you know, we still are able to have these great companies in America because the top talent can still be connected to the company, even if they're geographically somewhere else. So great having you. And like I said, you get the last word.
Well, Ron, again, I really appreciate your interest in the opportunity to share more. The last thing I tell you is that we're a B Corp, a benefit corp. We have a social mission. And if you would look at the management team at Mob Squad, we're not different in our ethos than immigration attorneys. I have a belief that you don't become an immigration attorney because you want to be a billionaire. You probably do corporate commercial if you want to do that. I think you become an immigration attorney because you want to help people. And you know, everybody on our team is proud of what we do because we get to create opportunities for these amazing people that they otherwise wouldn't have, and that's what gets us up and gets us going in the morning. And so we love working with attorneys that are, you know, immigration attorneys, because we find that we get along and we're trying to do the same thing. So thank you for your interest, Ron and Artur. Great to meet you, and hope to chat with you guys again soon.
All right. Thanks very much and have a great one.
Thank you.